What's up everyone, my name is David Arroyo, and in this video we're going to be talking about integrating a 3D software into our making comics working pipeline. We're going to look how to do that with Blender, and we're also going to talk a little bit about Clip Studio Paint because it also has a built-in 3D engine. And we're going to look at some of the options. We're not going to cover everything, like for example colors and stuff and grease pencil stuff, not yet. I'm planning on doing that in the next video, but not immediately right now. Right, for those of you that have been with me for over 2 years or longer, you will know that this is actually a part of a series that I started about 2 years ago called My Journey into Making Comics. And I still love making comics so much. I still have so much to say about it. So I decided to pick it back up. And here we are with episode number 10. So what do you say we dive right in and I'll show you straight away what we're going to look at today. So today I basically want to show you how you can use a 3D software like Blender in order to create finished comic book art. And it's difficult to draw comic book art just like this from scratch. It always helps to have some 3D there in the background. Now I've done a lot of comic book stuff from scratch in the past, and that's all fine and well, but it's all about productivity and consistency. Here you can see, for example, the same shot but just from a different camera angle, and that's where 3D is so useful. We're also going to be discussing using 3D assets so that you can reconstruct areas like these within seconds, and a scene like this, which is from one of the first pages from my Reset webcomic, which is currently under development. So let's have a quick look into the 3D aspect of things. Okay, so this is where we are in Blender, and here I'm going to show you what you can basically do. So again, this is not a tutorial. I'm just very quickly showing you the kind of setup that I have, the kind of stuff that I do, and there are a million ways of doing this. Okay, this is a very big file, as you can see. Is a quite big stage. There are different setups here as well. This is another one, if I were to concentrate here. So it's also another setup here, where I also have camera setup and stuff like that. So basically this is a 3D environment where I have different scenes that are played out. And in this environment, I have cameras set up. Okay, so this is one of them. I believe this is camera number 5. No, this is camera number 9. Camera number 5 is this one. So these are the two that I used to draw over. Okay, and basically what I've done, first of all, I've built my environment in 3D. Okay, so all this environment. Then these actors are also characters that I've built. They're kind of like not fully finished characters, as you can see. They're not perfect. They're just characters that I use as stand-ins, okay, to help me draw particular things. I can change their pose at any point in time. If I were to just go to the rig, let me quickly see the thingy. No, that's this one. Where is this one? There we go. If I were to go here, pose, and let's quickly do that. And let's go to a different pose here. Oops, there we go. This is my library. And there are many different poses that I have, as you can see here, right? These are the poses right here. So she has, for example, a battle stance that she can do. And then obviously the gun goes with it because, these things are linked to each other. She could be holding the rifle with ease, and then the shot would be completely different. See, then it's a different shot. So I can maybe just hide it so you can see it maybe like this. Or she could be taking cover with the gun, or she could be aiming the gun. She could have been aiming them back at them, right? All these different poses. It's just a library that I build up for myself that I can use, and then from there on I take a screenshot like I do here. So viewport render image. And it's very simple. All these things. So if you don't want, for example, the armature, you have to go to the meta rig and remove it. Okay. And then you can do a viewport render image. It goes super fast. Okay. There you go. Basically what your viewport sees is what you get. Again, like I said, it's not perfect, but you can use this. All the perspective is in here. That's how I did the other one. I think with the other one, actually what I did, I turned on the lights, I believe. Let's see, there you go. Now we got some lighting in there and some bloom effects and this and that. And then that's what you can basically see. And that's the same for all these different cameras that I have set up all over this region. So let's see if I can get my hand on this one. Let's see. Of course, I'm still in pose mode. That's why. Right. So once that's done, and I can take the armature away. Now I can go back to different cameras and see the different types of setups that exist within this environment. And these are all shots that I can use, that are in one of my comics that I'm currently designing and playing out. So that's one of the things that is quite useful to do. And before we continue on the other files, let me quickly take you to another way of doing this. So basic building blocks, I believe. Let's not save this. Basically what I often use are assets, 3D assets like this one. I actually built all of these myself, okay? And what they have is they're basically set up for freestyle line rendering. Okay, so let me quickly take a camera and let me, for example, try to shoot, say, all of this. See all of these details on the stairs and stuff like that. Okay, let me see. This is the active camera, is it? Yes, this is the active camera. Let me quickly do a render. Normally, I've got my freestyle already set up. Let's have a look. I don't think I have lighting, but that doesn't really matter, because it's about the freestyle that I need. Let's see if it will do this. So it's still doing the freestyle, and let's see. Yeah, it did it on a separate viewer node. There we go. And here we have the freestyle line render, which is useful because you can export this and take it out. It's a bit difficult to see here. I'll try to go to the compositing and just, or actually no, I'll do it here. 1 second. In the passes, instead of as rendered pass, I'll just render this out normal. I'll render it again. Normally you'll get the lines now on top of the 3D. So that's something that is quite useful to do. Maybe, again, I mean, and also I find this very important to reiterate. This is not a tutorial. This is just kind of like something to give you ideas, something to, to play with, that can inspire you. Okay, like for example, once I have all these things, okay, like all these different sets, I grab them together, see, because they all fit together. Okay, I can take one of these, for example, I can move it. I have to set my thingies though and increments. This is very important, otherwise it won't work. See, and when I move them, they all fit perfectly in all these areas, okay? And that's the same for all of these. All I have to do is just pick one that I want, and I move it over here, and then, or I duplicate them, and I basically create a setup like this, for example, right? That's what you got here. And then, let's see, let's focus. And then you've got something like this, for example. So if I would want to do a line render, a freestyle line render with this, I just select everything. It's quite important because I have a distance modifier, or yeah, these modifiers have a long stroke and distance. And here I want to do fill range by selection. Again, I might do a proper tutorial about this one day soon. But basically what this does is when I do a render now, it's going to use the correct thickness for all this stuff based on the distance that was calculated. So here apparently I did set up some lights, and here we have to wait a little bit for the freestyle rendering to come in. And there we go. 1 second. There you go. Okay, and so like this, you can easily create scenes for your comics or just concept art in general. I mean, within 3D modeling or just the world of 3D, 3D assets are extremely popular. They're very much used in video game development. Stuff like Unreal Engine uses them. Blender uses them. These ones are just specially made by me specifically for comics, because that's why all these things, they have details on both sides just for the freestyle. If I were to see all these green lines, that's basically telling the engine to render these green lines. These are all different settings that I have for all these things, but it just makes it easier for me to use this in particular setups. So there you go. That's my 2 cents on Blender that I wanted to show. Now, if you want to use 3D within comics, but you hate 3D applications like Blender and all that stuff, you don't really want to do that, fine. There's always Clip Studio Paint. In Clip Studio Paint, there is this 3D tab. You got body types, okay, and then you've got male and female. You can drag, let's just drag the female in for a second. There you go, you got your female in there. And based on this, okay, you can just change the camera really quickly. You can move it around. Then you can give it a pose, just like I had poses in Blender. Well, here you've got poses, also a pose library. This one is a bit bigger than the one I have in Blender. But the thing is, it can always get bigger and you have time to expand. Just like these ones, for Clip Studio Paint, you can also buy additional poses. They're very useful, and you can pose more than one. You can pose additional characters. Oops, I just changed the camera for a bit. You can, let's zoom out. Yeah, the thing with this render engine is that it's a bit slow. That's the downside of it. It doesn't matter how strong your computer is. It's just one of these render engines that is just not the fastest in the world. It was obviously not made for this. Let's see. Let's turn this dude around. Wait, whoa, you're going too fast. Let's see. This way. Okay, for example, let's say that they would be interacting with each other. You choose a pose, and now you want this guy to have a pose. I don't know. Let's say he slipped on a banana peel or something. Okay, and then now you've got a scene. You can work with this, and that's basically what we got. So it's quite useful here. Now, the other thing that is extremely useful within this type of way of working is that you can draw on this. Okay, so let's say I were to switch this on. Now all of a sudden I've got my perspective lines. I can add an additional layer. Okay, I don't have a Wacom connected right now. I do have one, but it's just not connected. So what I can do now, I just have to make sure that they are active. Okay, so these ones have to be active, snap to ruler and snap to special ruler. Because now when I'm here, see, I can start drawing in perspective. It will immediately take on the perspective that your 3D models are in, and that's extremely useful. Okay, because that means that you can, without having to figure out the perspective, because when I do it through Blender and I import it into, let's say, Procreate or whatever, I have to figure out the perspective. I have to figure out how it was set up, and so that takes a little bit of time. Not a lot, but it does take a little bit of time to set up. Whereas here, it's given for free. If you hate perspective, well, here it is. You can have everything in here, and it's really cool. You can immediately just have perspective that works. You don't have to worry about anything. That's just amazing. To me, Clip Studio Paint is still an unbelievably useful piece of software that I really love, and I really recommend it to a lot of people. So what do you say that we have a look at how I turn this into that in Procreate, and we go from 3D to 2D, And here we go. So now I am in Procreate. You can see how I am drawing directly in ink. I don't even bother working with pencils because that just takes a lot of time. I don't really have to think so much when I already have the 3D models, the perspective, all that stuff. Hence why the pencils are just not that necessary. The other thing that I find very important is to just make sure that you know your characters well, know what they're wearing. Don't forget your details. Your details are extremely important. So, and they're different levels of details. Okay, when doing this, see what I'm doing now, that additional black pass of additional shading, that's what I mean with additional details. If you just apply this technique with only just doing the lines, it's like, so you are literally just tracing the lines over the 3D and just inventing some little things here and there, that's gonna look very strange. It's gonna look, I don't know, unfinished. Maybe for like animation it could work, but then why the hell would you do it? It makes much more sense to use freestyle rendering in this case, or you know, some type of technique straight into the 3D program to save you time. So the detail is very important, and I really want to stress that because that's what gives it its distinct look. The same for the second shot that we have here, that we're going to bring this time all the way to color, and it's based off of this 3D. So here you go, there's the color that you can see. The colors were also done in Procreate. These are just watercolors by Max Packs. I downloaded them, well, I actually had to purchase them because they're not free, but they are really, really good. So I definitely do recommend them. There are many different ways of coloring, of course, so but I just lately I've really been getting into watercolors because it's what I am doing for my Reset webcomic. As a matter of fact, what you're seeing here, this process is pretty much the same process that I'm currently using to get the actual pages done. And so again, here I find it extremely important to focus on the details once again. So again, if you just look at this drawing right now as is, it's still extremely bland. It needs more. It needs just details, basically, because real life isn't perfect. Okay, if you look around, there are details everywhere. There's, tiles are not perfectly clean. They if they have a little bit of dirt on them, then it means you have a little bit of history, and it's part of visual storytelling. Okay, so here also as well, here what you're seeing in the bottom right corner, I added some additional geometry, but straight into Procreate, because what I do when I create these 3D files in Blender and I import them, the first thing I do is I match up the perspective, because without that, well, this process would take a long time. So thanks to that, I can very quickly block out new geometry into the scene and just make it happen, and here you go. And now what we're looking at now is me doing the colors. You'll see me going back and forth between black and whites. That's what I do in order to check the values and make sure that they're all fine and all that stuff. But there you go. This is pretty much my process. I hope you like it. And let's have a look at one more example where we use 3D to, for example, storyboard. And so here we have that last example of the storyboarding, or it can actually be applied with anything. Now, remember this asset library that I was talking about earlier on in the video? Well, that's how I created this scene. I just created a whole bunch of assets, put them together, and then drew over it in Procreate very fast. This took less than 15 minutes to do. So it was literally importing like you see here, and then very quickly, just with pencils, just giving a bit of a feel for the scene. This scene actually comes straight out of my colored storyboards for one of the pages that I'll actually show right here. And so what you're basically seeing are my very early colored storyboards that then, as I'm starting to do the real line work, then I want better art, and that's where this 3D shot comes in. All right, there you have it, everyone. I hope you like this type of content. As usual, you can always leave a like and subscribe, and I will try my best to upload the next part of this, which would normally focus on adding colors and focusing a little bit more on getting the job done within Blender and not having to rely as much on illustrative skills or Procreate or any of these things. So we'll look into that. I'm going to try. I don't want to make any promises, but I'll see what I can do. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, guys.